Hello, hello. What is up, Sleuth Crew? Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Sleuth. Today we will be discussing the unspent bullet. Will this be the last nail in the coffin for Richard Allen, or a chain of custody nightmare and something that could potentially get tossed? Let me know what you guys think. There is an active poll. Please participate or let me know what you think in the comments. What's up, GP? 63. Silas, Olivia. Good to see all you guys. CJK. Yeah, and don't forget we're going to be hanging out with the Drunk Turkey Show later. I think the main focus will be Patrick Westfall and the interviews I did with him. But I'm sure we'll be getting into the Delphi case in general. CJK, everyone got their pies made? No. But I am ready for Thanksgiving. Let's not forget what the Delphi case is all about, Abby and Libby. You know, that was the tragedy, the loss of those two girls. What's up, Purdue? Good to see you. Frederica, hello. Welcome. Purple Haze, like that name. Good afternoon, Sleuth and crew. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Same to you. It's funny, Purple Haze. It's just one of my favorite strands. It's a good sativa. 1111. Rhubarb. That sounds yummy. Frederica says, I'm uncertain because I really do feel that they have more evidence than just a bullet. Well, let's just assume they don't have anything. Let's assume that they have what we think they have. Some witness testimony, Richard Allen saying he was there around the same time, and the unspent bullet. So him being there at that time and then that bullet tying him to the crime scene, if they can do that scientifically, I mean, that's huge. So at this point, in my opinion, it turns into a chain of custody discussion. You know, did they tamper with the evidence? Was it always accounted for? Things like that. And I think that's the big argument. So I do have the defense memorandum up. I pulled some pieces from it regarding that. And if you notice, they didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about that in their memorandum. Matter of fact, it was only 3 paragraphs long. So we'll look at that. Something else that was mentioned in the Goal defense attorney transcripts that were recently released, the defense press release. You know, that was pretty much the first time we heard from the defense team publicly. So I went ahead and pulled that. It's not too long. We'll read that. Maybe we'll do that first. Some video clips here of other cases that have nothing to do with the Delphi case, but ran into some issues in regards to chain of custody. So we'll look at that. We'll look at the part of the probable cause affidavit where they mention that. We'll look at another case where ballistics and ejector marks were huge for another case and was used successfully to convict somebody. So yeah, we got a lot to look at here. What's up, Rescue? Cooking, cooking, cooking. What's up, Lisa? Jamie, good to see you. Saska Rose, I'm uncertain too, but hopeful. Purple Haze, I'm new here. Well, welcome. What's going on, D? Good to see you. We'll get going here in about 4 minutes. CJK, still praying for justice in this case and sanity. What's up, Farmer? Jerry. What's up, Boston? Good to see you. Candace, good morning. Robin, good afternoon to you. Kit Kat. 63 clocks. Banking on good chain of custody documentation. Heard they had this, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything official on it. I don't see why they wouldn't have the chain of custody. I mean, the list shouldn't be that long. Frederica, well, I'm hoping they have some DNA. I think they're going to have some DNA that will help to convict Richard Allen, but it won't be solid. I think they have enough to say, hey, we can't exclude him. It's somebody, either Richard Allen or somebody in his pool. And I've seen that help in a case a few different times. Maybe we should do a live stream on that. Because there is talk about DNA, but there's not a whole lot of talk. And there hasn't been too many clear answers either. Saska Rose, wasn't there an unspent round in the Murdoch trial? I don't know, was there? It's another crazy case. Many of the news broadcasters here in Indiana are saying that Goal is trying to get out of being the judge for this case. Why? Because she's sick? Sometimes you just get sick. Can't wait to see what else they have on it. Like, was the one in the box the exact same? Yeah, I wonder if it's the same brand. I wonder if they can somehow figure that out. If it came from the same box, that'd be huge. You're welcome, Purple. Cranberry salad. Oyster dressing made in broth for noodles. That sounds pretty good. Candace, how are you? I feel like people might find Richard Allen innocent because they can't wrap their head around somebody doing something so evil. Yeah, I think that's the first problem. I think a lot of people who follow true crime have already made that step. You know, they've gotten to the point where it's not that shocking or they're just not that affected by it. That's just how it is for some people. I mean, look at it. Look at surgeons. I mean, they're digging in people's flesh. It's also a maturity thing, personal opinion. But yeah, I think it's hard to wrap your mind around how somebody can do that. So I think you're right about that. Renee, what's up? Oh, I love that smell. All right. What timer should we be there? 12? 1? You let me know. See, Phil. Sounds good. What time are we eating? That's funny. We all have the same idea. Awesome. Not much that she's sick, but the time like 2 months to take off to recover. Oh, is that what it was? She's going to take 2 months? Purple says, didn't they say the DNA isn't what you'd expect? Made me think of pet hair. Well, they said they had a science element and a human element. So I'm thinking the science element, of course, is the unspent bullet that they have to scientifically in a lab prove that matches. And then the human element, I don't know. Well, they've been taking hair and blood. So they're taking hair samples from a lot of suspects, or not suspects, but people that they question. So hair and blood. So I'm wondering if there's partial DNA and maybe a hair. But I don't know about fibers. I did hear mention of that early on. What's up, Kevin? You missed nothing. We haven't even gotten started. So I think we should start with what is chain of custody when it comes to a crime scene. This is according to the National Institutes of Health. The chain of custody is the most critical process of evidence documentation. It is a must to assure the court of law that the evidence is authentic. It is the same evidence seized at the crime scene. It was at all times in the custody of a person designated to handle it and for which it was never unaccounted. So you have to basically swear with your signature that it will be protected and you're going to do what you're supposed to do with it. Anytime it comes into your possession or leaves your possession, there should be a record of that. So I hear a lot of people saying that there was no proper documentation or record kept when it comes to the bullet, and we'll see what the defense had to say about that in the memorandum. But first, let's look at some other cases here. This will kind of help us wrap our mind around why it's important not to screw up the chain of custody and how important it is. Let's see. We'll start with this one.
To look at how crime labs operate, how this chain of evidence could be broken, and what that means in a rape case.
Investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy joining us with more on that part of our coverage tonight.
Kathy, in this country, prosecutions are based on evidence. A foundation of justice is chain of custody, how evidence is collected, processed, and stored so it can be reliably used in court. The Patrick Kane case boils over with speculation and supposition, and tonight's evidence bag scandal fits right in. No one seems to know what that bag is, how it got there, or what it means.
The jury has to know that this piece of evidence that is introduced in court came from here, from here, from here, from here. And if the chain is all broken, there's a problem with introducing the evidence.
The evidence is a rape kit such as this, medical equipment used to test Cain's alleged victim in Buffalo. It was analyzed here at the Erie County Forensic Lab. That process is part of the chain of custody, crucial in a rape case where the testing kit is marked with identifying information and stored either at the scene or in the hospital ER in a tamper-proof container. The person who packages it, a neutral party uninvolved with the case. After the lab test, the evidence resecured with the goal of proving the evidence that was tested is the same evidence introduced at trial. These commercial evidence bags used by police normally achieve that, but law enforcement across the country has been faced with a backlog of rape kit analysis, many times a challenge to effective chain of custody.
If the evidence was properly inventoried and is still properly in the police department, then it may be
I don't know,
much ado about
Saska.
nothing.
Tonight at 10, the I-Team uncovers crime lab troubles here in Illinois, from missing evidence to mixed up tests and a pattern of forensic failures that may put thousands of criminal cases in jeopardy.
Not only is it completely unacceptable, but it's shocking that no one
Richard.
from the state police ever reported that to anybody.
So yeah, this is just kind of going into why it's important and how easy it is to kind of mess this up and how it could affect a case.
Prosecution, but two new bombshell reports from inside the Orange County Sheriff's Department show the widespread and systemic mishandling of evidence. Evidence often booked late or not at all, and deputies lying about it.
This could affect thousands of defendants. There's really no question about it. They, by their own estimates, say there's 8,000 cases in which evidence wasn't
What's up, Frank?
Booked on time.
The first report showed that 30% of all criminal evidence over a 2-year period was booked late, much of it booked more than a month late.
We know that in terms of the evidence that wasn't booked timely, it was everything. It was drugs, it was firearms, it was currency, it was everything you can imagine. And the problem with that, by the way, is that evidence then was sitting in people's lockers, their homes, their rooms, their offices, all being
Thanks,
mingled
Frank.
together.
Hit the like
The
button,
Sheriff's
guys.
Department says it fired 4 deputies. 7 more have been disciplined so far. But now a second Sheriff's Department internal report found 57 cases where
Damn.
deputies didn't just book evidence late, they didn't book evidence at all, and
That's
they lied
crazy.
about it. That sounds bad enough, but Assistant Public Defender Scott Sanders points out those 57 tainted cases are from a small sample selected for that report.
That was a sampling of 450 cases out of 72,000. So what we really
That's
believe
so
is
crazy
that
to
there's
me.
an excess of 9,000 cases in which no evidence was turned
That
in,
means people were
even though
set
the
free.
officer said it was collected.
The DA's office says it was blindsided by the reports and is demanding answers. Sheriff Don Barnes declined our requests for an interview. Sanders is calling on the feds
course.
to investigate and notes these internal Sheriff Department reports may never have become public had it not been for a confidential source.
We wouldn't have known about this but for a source who shared these audits with us. The
Yeah, I
Sheriff's
would like a
Department was never
comment,
gonna
Farmer, from them
disclose.
on that.
What happens next?
I was looking for a
what we would like
comment,
to think
but I-
happened is someone other than the Sheriff's Department or the District Attorney's Office looks at this and digs in and gets to the bottom of it.
I think I have one more and then we'll move on. See, this one was really interesting. This one I thought was a lot more similar to what was going on with Baldwin, really. Kind of.
There could be far-reaching fallout from one of those scandals that's causing all this turmoil at OPD. This one involves the homicide detective accused of giving his mistress access to confidential files so she could write his police reports. All of those criminal cases are now in jeopardy. The
think
first
this is out of
challenge goes
Oakland.
before a judge on Wednesday. In fact, an ABC 7 News reporter, Melanie Woodrow, is with us in the newsroom with more. Melanie.
Thank you,
Dan,
Tish.
the key question here is whether or not that lead OPD homicide investigator compromised key evidence in the case that you've referenced or dozens of other cases that he handled. According to our partners at the East Bay Times, Sergeant Mike Gant is currently on administrative leave. He allegedly gave
That's a
his
good point, Big
girlfriend
Bird.
case files so that she could type up his reports, information she posted to social media and shared with Oakland Police Department after she found out Gant was married. One of those case files involved evidence connected to the 2013 shooting death of 66-year-old Judy Solomon, a well-known Oakland dog walker. Stefan Lee and Mario Floyd are charged with killing Solomon after she used her cell phone to take video of the men allegedly committing a crime in her Maxwell Park neighborhood. Now, Floyd's attorney could ask for the case to be dismissed. ABC7's legal analyst says the latest OPD development could impact several cases.
It'll allow
Negligence.
the defense to say in any given case that the chain of custody has been tampered with. You can't trust the evidence. That's a pretty serious thing.
ABC7 News was not able to reach Lee's attorney. Floyd's attorney says she'll be carefully examining testimony Sergeant Gant gave at a preliminary hearing in the dog walker case. She says Gant may have testified about police reports that he shared with his mistress or that he had her right. In the news.
Crazy. CJK, I want to answer that question. Why would anyone be grossly negligent? Well, the truth is, when you have a client and you really don't have a way to represent him, and you didn't pick this case and you weren't picked, there was no consultation, there was nothing, no conversation. It's like, hey, we need you to step in and do this, for the state. Well, if you have absolutely no way to defend this person, all you have are shenanigans, right? And what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get kicked off the case. Seems to be what happened. All right. What do you guys want me to go into first? Do you want me to continue on into all of the bullet information, or do you want me to read that the defense press release, the one that was mentioned by Gull? Apparently, it violated some kind of rule that was in place. Maybe we can get that out of the way before we dive into this, the technical part of everything. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, 63 clocks. Why would she fake that? Sometimes it just happens. If you're not paying attention to your body's telling you, and your focus is elsewhere, you might miss it. Bobby says, I'm unable to see the poll. It's just blank. Sorry, man. Oh, that sucks, Big Bird. Watch your temperature and stay hydrated. Yeah. Those are my dogs. My wife just came home. Jamie Hicks, heck yeah, I read it for us. Thanks. You don't spend days in hospital to fake an illness. Nope. Especially when you got work to do. All right. This isn't too long, so we'll just knock it out. All right. Press release. This is just after they were assigned to the case here, Rosie and Baldwin. And recently, Judge Gall brought it up. So when we were reading those transcripts from her chambers, when they quit or withdrew, she mentioned this press release when she was kind of piling on all the reasons why they were negligent. And it looks like it started here. So, press release. As Richard Rick Allen's attorneys, we have received multiple requests from local and national media for interviews and comment since the unsealing of the probable cause affidavit. It would be virtually impossible to comply with these requests and continue to focus on the merits of Rick's defense. Therefore, we offer up these thoughts. We do not want to try this case in the media. Okay. And we intend to adhere to the Indiana rules of professional conduct. Okay. And provide guidance on pretrial publicity. However, the police and prosecutor's office have conducted many press conferences over the 5+ years of this investigation. Well, yeah, they were looking for Richard Allen, your client. And following our client's arrest, on the other hand, Rick's ability to assert his innocence has been reduced to only one short post hearing press conference. Accordingly, we feel it appropriate, necessary, and within the bounds of our rules of professional conduct to make a few comments concerning the probable cause affidavit and Rick's innocence. Sandra, what's up? I'm late, so most of this I'll be watching on replay. Good to see you, Sandra. Sandra says, get well, Big Bird. Yeah, I knew what you meant, Jamie. Thank you. What's up, Sam Cooley? Alrighty, here's some bullet points. Rick is a 50-year-old man who has never been arrested nor accused of any crime in his entire life. He is innocent and completely confused as to why he has been charged with these crimes. The police did not contact Rick after Libby German and Abby Williams went missing. Rather, Rick contacted the police and voluntarily discussed being on the trail that day. Very smart of him, by the way. Like many people in Delphi, Rick wanted to help any way he could. Rick contacted the police to let them know that he had walked on the trail that day, as he often did. See, we need to focus in on that part. You know, this wasn't just a one-time thing for Rick. You know, that might play into the whole fantasy part of it all. Without Rick coming forward, the police probably would not have had any way of knowing that he was on the trail that day. Well, that's bullshit. If he wouldn't have come forward, they would have been able to search his home on day 3. But because of his proactiveness and his what I call sophistication, there was nothing they could do. Now, if he would have stayed hidden and they were like, okay, well, this guy's the only guy that didn't come forward, and we found out he's been on the trail. He was there that day during this time. And why didn't he come forward? Judge, we need a search warrant. Okay, here's my signature. Now, if you came forward and said, Judge, we need to go search this guy. He was at the trail. Okay, did you talk to him? Yeah. Well, actually, he came to us. Oh, he did? Did he say he was there? Yeah. Okay, what else did he tell you? Well, 3 girls saw him on the trails too. Well, he said he was there. Did he see the girls? Yeah, he saw them too. Okay. That's all he said? Well, we have nothing. Now, if he would have denied it or tried to hide it, I think they would have been able to go ahead and get that search warrant right away. So it says here, walked on the trail that day as he often did. Without Rick coming forward, the police probably would not have had any way of knowing that he was on the trail that day. Rick volunteered to meet with a conservation officer outside of a local grocery store to offer up details of his trip to the trail. So yeah, he's injecting himself, possibly, on the day in question. Rick tried to assist with the investigation and told the police that he did recall seeing 3 younger girls on the trail that day. His contact with the girls was brief and of little significance. Rick does not recall if this interaction with the conservation officer was tape recorded, but believes that the conservation officer scribbled notes on a notepad as Rick spoke to him. C-Mom. It's like the former defense attorneys are raising concerns that they know are partial just to play to the great uneducated public. Oh, yeah. And if you're not careful, you know, anybody can fall for it. Even the educated are falling for it. It's really, I don't know, it's almost like they're appealing to your political side psychologically. It's weird. I think there needs to be a more in-depth look into why certain people lean certain ways in true crime and how it relates to their political views. It's not always the case, but I am noticing some patterns. What's up, Cindy? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Shout out to the replay crew. Sluther Vandross. That's funny. It's more my post bong rip. Andy Baldwin is so hungry for media attention. Can he want to be like a radio host before lawyering? Yeah, the way he bailed out of there and he was like, well, you know, F all of you guys. I have a family to worry about. Like he didn't even, I don't think he even brought up, I think he brought up Richard Allen one time. And it was almost as if he was trying to remind himself that he's the focus. He's like, wait a minute. Yeah, Richard Allen. Yeah, he's the focus. He's the main focus. Like, well, no shit. All right. After Rick shared his information with law enforcement officials, he went back to his job at the local CVS and didn't hear from the police for more than 5 years. So what does that mean? He went back to his job at the local CVS. They're just basically saying he went back to life as normal. Back to his normal ways. The next time Rick heard from the police was in October of 2022. This was approximately 2 weeks before a contested sheriff's election. Oh, here we go. Here's with the slimy lawyer stuff, right? And the conspiracy people eat this shit up, you know, because that's what they were thinking. Oh my gosh, see, I was right. So in their conspiracy brain, they're finding confirmation, which they don't understand is being designed specifically for that. It's kind of like I don't know, that would have been a bad analogy. Anyway, I digress. Approximately 2 weeks before contested sheriff's election and within days of a federal lawsuit filed against the Carroll County Sheriff's Office by its former second in command, Michael Thomas, who is most likely is a prime suspect in early leaks, if you ask me. In the lawsuit, Thomas claims that Thomas, had made suggestions and offered assistance in the investigation of a high-profile child homicide investigation, but those suggestions and offers were rejected by the sheriff. How, feelings of being rejected. You rejected me, man. We could have been good together. Thomas further claimed that the sheriff and others in the department feared the disagreements with Thomas would become publicized as a result of the political campaign for sheriff. Andy and Alec. He's one of the Baldwin brothers. Don't they know the Long Island serial killer? Thomas claims in the suit that he was ultimately demoted and replaced by Tony Liggett, who later that year won the 2022 election for sheriff. Furthermore, Thomas claims he was also removed from high-profile cases. Rick was ultimately arrested on or about October 28th, 2022. Not sure what any of this shit has to do with Rick Allen, right? It's all lawyer crap. In the 5+ years since Rick volunteered to provide information to the police, Rick did not get rid of his vehicle or his guns and did not throw out his clothing. And this happens with a lot of murder cases where these people think they got away with it. Remember, what do we say on this channel constantly? The same thing that causes these people to kill eventually will be what gets them caught. He did not alter his appearance. He did not relocate himself to another community. And the FBI kind of called that, right? He will be hiding in plain sight. He did what any innocent man would do and continued with his normal routine and was successfully profiled, apparently, by the FBI. The probable cause affidavit seems to suggest that a single magic bullet is proof of Rick's guilt. It could be. It is a bit premature to engage in any detailed discussions regarding the veracity of this evidence until more discovery is received. But it is safe to say that the discipline of tool mark identification, and we're going to talk about this today, ballistics is anything but a science. Um, you guys will be the judge. We'll take a look. The entire discipline has been under attack in courtrooms across the country as being unreliable and lacking any scientific validity. We anticipate a vigorous legal and factual challenge to any claims by the prosecution as to the reliability of its conclusion concerning the single magic bullet. What is this, the JFK case? On Rick's behalf, we argued to have the PCA unsealed. Rick has nothing to hide. As importantly, we were hoping that we would receive tips that would assist us in proving up his innocence. Not surprisingly, we have been inundated with tips from a variety of sources. We all know who that is. Cringe YouTubers and Facebook stalkers, all of which, and none of these are professional people, by the way, all of which will be vetted by our team. None were vetted. Instead, they put out the memorandum with all of the shit that was provided by these unhinged YouTube folks. Although it is the burden of the prosecutor to prove Rick's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense team looks forward to conducting its own investigation. Yeah, with my YouTube buddies and strange investigators like Jensen. That's our team, guys. And I can't wait to show you what we come up with. Rick's innocence. We appreciate those that have reached out to support his case. Yeah, thanks, guys. You know who you are. The prosecutor mentioned at the last hearing his belief that others may have been involved in the killing, yet there was no mention in the PCA about a second suspect involved in the killing. The defense is confused by such discrepancies in the investigation and will be in a better position to respond as more discovery is received. Saska says, some people won't be happy regardless. They'll still want the conspiracy and rumor mill. Yeah, because it's entertaining. Case is closed, sadly, for the families. Families have gone through so much and it keeps coming. Yeah, like I said, the murder of Abby and Libby, it's not going to get any worse than that. Nothing is going to compare to that. And that's what this is all about. Yeah, what's up, Grunstruck? I agree with you. I think it's going to be the final nail. That's my opinion. I think they're going to be able to prove, well, hopefully they can prove it in court. It really is. The fingerprint. Shake my head. 60 years today, JFK was killed. That's probably why I was thinking about it. We covered that in a members only a while back. Richard Dobson, Baldwin and Rosie took huge but calculated risk. They would not have done it if prosecution had a weak case. I agree. They took the chance knowing if they failed, they would lose the case anyway. Yep. They said, we got nothing. We got to do it. What's the worst that could happen? We have to withdraw. We get fired. Yeah. Well, it's all we got. Let's do it. Yeah, that is some weird shit. And we all know who was mentioned in the memorandum. That fucking Hitler wannabe. I heard they have a lot of evidence counting on it. Well, what about the bullet? You don't think that's enough? All right. Rick Allen owned a Ford Focus in February of 2017. His Ford Focus is not in any way similar to the distinctive look of the PT Cruiser or smart car that was described by the witnesses. It seems that the CCSD is trying to bend facts to fit their narrative. At this point in time, we have received very limited information about this case and look forward to having something more to view than that which was offered up in the sparse PCA. Moving forward, it is our intent to scrutinize the discovery as it is received and give the necessary attention and leaks to the volumes of tips that we are receiving. To the extent we continue to discover information that points to Rick's innocence, we will offer up this information to the public so long as we are not prohibited from doing so. Well, you were prohibited from doing so as a result of the recent request by the prosecutor for a gag order. So basically, they're saying we're going to put this little tidbit out before they make a decision on the gag order. How about that? Brad Rosie, Andrew Baldwin. So this is the press release that Judge Gall was referring to in the recent transcripts. Chico's Mummy, what's up? True crime and other stuff. How's it going? Well, happy Thanksgiving Eve. Yeah, if it ever gets to court. But right, that's Gall's fault. She did that. She's not allowing due process. Gall's been leaking images, putting out press releases, sending discovery to strange characters who are getting their homes raided for absolutely something unrelated. Here you go. Here's the whole case for you, buddy. Let me know what you think. I mean, it makes sense, especially considering the type of YouTubers that the defense was working with. Why wouldn't they work with this guy? This guy is much better in comparison. Okay. All right, where should we go now? We'll go here.
Areas of focus in the Delphi investigation is a single unspent bullet found near the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German in 2017. That detail revealed yesterday when a judge ruled to release a redacted version of case documents. WRTV's Rachel Wilkerson shows us what that single bullet could mean to this case.
According to the unsealed probable cause affidavit in the Delphi double murder case, an unspent .40 caliber bullet was found in between the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German. Unspent means it was never fired. That single bullet, investigators say, links Richard Allen to the crimes. An Indiana State Police Laboratory analysis on Allen's gun reveals the unfired bullet was at one point loaded in the chamber and had extraction marks on it. Indianapolis gun expert and defense attorney Guy Relford explains how that happens.
When the slide comes back
Let's hear it, Guy.
like this, a round is extracted from the chamber with what's called an extractor, which is like a little claw that actually hooks on to this protruding rear edge of the cartridge, pulls it out, and
Exactly,
then the ejector sort of kicks it out of the ejection port. So that claw, that extractor that grabs onto that little edge on the back of the cartridge can leave a little mark on the shell casing, even on an unspent round, through the process of extracting that unspent round out of the gun.
Testimony of a muddy and bloody man matching Allen's description. Audio and videos are also being used as evidence. Allen has pleaded
Jamie.
not guilty to the murders of the girls. Records show
Not
he
that I can
admits
see.
to visiting the Monine High Trail, but doesn't have an explanation for the bullet.
So it could be a malfunction of the gun. It could be a misfire or other malfunction of the ammunition. It could be someone doing it intentionally and to induce fear, or some factors that we haven't thought of yet.
Former FBI agent Doug Coons weighs in.
The bullet puts him there. He admitted that it was his gun. He's had it since 2001.
The cause of the deaths haven't been released to the public.
It's not saying that they were shot by, the same kind of bullet that was matched to the same kind of.
Questions in the highly publicized case remain.
That the prosecution's going to have to deal with about why would that be on the ground at a crime scene between two bodies. And I think that's where a lot of the defense case is going to go, is trying to poke holes in that, saying that doesn't necessarily mean that this defendant committed these crimes.
Relford says the scientific evidence in the case is crucial, but can also be disputed.
It can be very much a battle of experts, and one expert can say, yes, absolutely, that round came out of that gun, and another expert could come in and say, no, you can't conclude that to what we call a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
Working for you, Rachel Wilkerson,
Turner versus State. This is just a small clipping. We'll start here, line 96. Paragraph. Appellant states that the evidence discussed in assignment of error, number one, had the corrosive effect on the jury's evaluation of the weight of the evidence. He urges that the state's evidence was not strong. He notes that the defense expert countered the BCI agent's testimony that the extraction marks on the fired .308 cartridge from the scene of the shooting matched those of the unfired .308 cartridge from the bookshelf in the appellant's living room. Specifically, the BCI agent explained how a person can cycle a live bullet through a weapon without firing it, and testified that this could leave extractor marks and or ejector marks on the bullet. The BCI agent stated that the ejector marks were in corresponding locations, but there was insufficient microscopic detail to say that they matched. He did state, however, that the extractor marks on the bullet from the appellant's house matched the ones on the shell recovered from the murder scene. He stated that sometimes an extractor mark had insufficient detail for a conclusion, but here they were very good. So even if they do have extractor marks, it may not be good enough. So could run into that as well. And here's what the gentleman was referring to. So when you cycle that shell, this is what kind of spits it out. And when it spits it out, it's going to make contact right here. Ballistic fingerprint. So now if they can make a match here, he's done. He's at the crime scene. He's there at the time the girls were there. And now they can prove that his bullet that was cycled through his weapon is at the crime scene. So not only was he there, he was at the crime scene. Is the story that's going to tell. Grunge Truck says he should have kept his mouth shut. Honestly, him talking and coming forward bought him the 5 years. Now, they knew eventually they were going to be forced to arrest him, I think. This is just my opinion. But I think him coming forward bought him some time. But him just being there is what's going to ultimately lead to the conviction. And they would have found that out. Everybody knew he was there. There were even a couple people that recognized him as the man on the bridge saying he's been cleared. I play pool with that man. He's already spoken with police. Hello, Sharon. I'm new here, know about this case, but I'm looking forward to learning more. Yeah, we're going to dive into this aspect of it all. This one's making its rounds.
The bullet that was found near the victim's bodies.
So the bullet, though, was not a spent
New
bullet,
attorney for
correct?
Richard Allen.
That's my understanding from the probable cause. Yes, it was not fired.
Okay, it's not fired. So how do you do forensic analysis on a not fired bullet?
Well, there's two different ways of conducting that type of analysis. If a bullet is fired out of a gun, then you can conduct an analysis on the projectile itself as it twists and comes out of a barrel. There may be different nicks and scrapes and things on the bullet, but any bullet casing that's been ejected out of a semi-automatic handgun, whether that gun has been fired or not, it is pushed into the bottom part of the barrel, and then when the slide is racked and the bullet's ejected, even if it hasn't been fired, there's still an extractor that grabs the edge of that bullet, that flips it out.
Neither do I,
and
Cindy.
that process often, not always, but often leaves marks and dents, and those marks and dents can be very specific to the weapon that it came out of. So even if it hasn't been fired, in a laboratory, they can go back, put a similar type of shell casing in it in a laboratory environment, eject that round, and then compare the two.
Well, now we know why Gall picked this guy, right? He's perfect for the case. He's going to push through the bullet evidence, right? It all makes sense. Even though Gall picked Rosie and Baldwin, she realizes now that she didn't pick the right people to push through her narrative. But now she's got the right guys. They're going to push through the bullet stuff and it's over with. He's not really talking about facts here. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. All right, did you guys all vote on the poll? We only have about 20 minutes left here. Let's go right into the defense memo. And this is all they had on it. Not much. Hey, what's up, Jerry? Thank you. We have been legitimized and sponsored by Jerry. Thank you. Good looking up. Good to see you, Amy. Thanks, Jerry. What's up, Super Junkie? Here's a good comment. If I see an injustice, I'd stand right beside anyone. But every time I ask these people questions, it's seen as an attack. So I ain't listening. Impotent sloganers always pump on a cause. Yep. I agree. If you can show me that his rights are being trampled, I'm not going to stand for that. I don't have a pony in this race. Fire them all. For all I care. What the hell do I care? As long as they get justice in the end, and if it's what's needed. Honestly, I have no loyalty to any of them. But you have to show me that there's no due process and that there's some kind of conspiracy here. Makes no sense. Oh, we got a new member. Chico's Mummy. Welcome, Chicos. We'll actually be having a members live stream tomorrow at some point. Usually we have members meetings on Wednesdays, but we're going to be hanging out with the Drunk Turkey Show around 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. Should be a good one. All right, let's get into this. So this is from the leaked memorandum that was also mentioned by Judge Gall in the recent transcripts. So she mentioned the press release and she mentioned this entire memorandum, but we're just going to focus on the bullet stuff here. %. Bogey Green Street. I'd like to see you with Greeno. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. I'll go hang out with Greeno when him and Mel settle things, which will probably never ever happen. So Bogey. Yeah, I'm definitely not holding my breath on that one. But I have no qualms with Greeno. I just don't. It's like just a person over there. Live and let live. All right, let's see what they had to say here. The defense has provided 2 photos of the shoe and cell phone found under Abby's legs and marked them as Exhibit 21 and 22 and have been filed confidentially. Also, the defense has provided 3 photos of the bullet purportedly found in the ground between Abby and Libby and marked these photos as Exhibit 23, 24, and 25. It should be noted that as of the date of this memo, the defense has no photographs of the bullet allegedly found between the girls after it was removed from the ground. So they must have photos of them removing it from the ground, right? Which is important, you'd think. So they don't have anything after it was removed. My question is, why would they? Wouldn't it go directly into a bag? No photo or video. So what are they looking for here? Like a photo of the bag being sealed? I'm not sure. For example, shows the bullet as it was being pulled out of the ground. Okay. Isn't that the most important thing? No photo or video of the bullet immediately after it was pulled from the ground. So what do they want? A photo of it being dropped in or held up? I don't know, like some tweezers or something, and then a close-up picture? What is it that they're hoping for? Maybe you CSI folks can answer that question. No video or photograph of all sides of the bullet immediately after it was pulled from the ground. No photographs of the bullet next to a measuring device to show its length. No photos that show what the bullet looked like once it was pulled out of the ground could provide proof that it is the same bullet that ended up in the evidence. Well, isn't that why they have the chain of custody, right? So if you pick it up, somebody's holding a bag, drop it in the bag, they seal the bag, and then you both sign it, I'm assuming. Okay. So if you wanted to measure it, that's fine. You have the chain of custody. If you want to become part of that chain of custody so that you can measure it, by all means. But I'm assuming that's what happened, right? Dropped it right in a bag. Maybe even there's photographs. But if you drop it in a bag and two people say under oath, like, hey, we picked it up from the ground right here. First thing we did was we put it in this bag and maintained the chain of custody. Ended up in the evidence locker room. Shockingly, in this deposition, Sheriff Leggett admitted that he also has not seen any photographs of the purported bullet taken once the bullet was pulled from the ground. In other words, the only photos that the defense has found in the discovery it has received are of the bullet still buried in the ground. So I think that's important, right? At this time, the defense has no idea if the photos of the bullet after it was removed from the ground even exist. The photos exist, but the state has not yet turned those important photographs over to the defense. The defense has missed these photos in the voluminous discovery. Either way, the defense has asked the prosecutor to please locate these photographs. Now, I think this was a footnote. The GP says, yeah, never going to happen with Greeno and Mel. Well, I'm on Team Mel, so there's your answer. No offense to anybody. It's just how it is. Yes, true crime and other stuff. I guess they just want proof that it came out of the ground and what it looked like. Yeah, they want to make sure that they can prove with their own eye, hey, look, there's a mark here and a mark there. Okay, let me see the bullet we have. Okay, yeah, there's a mark here and a mark. Yeah, this is definitely the same bullet. But at the same time, if you take the bullet out of the ground and drop it into a bag and you have two witnesses and people who are signing the bag saying, hey, yes, I will testify that I watched him put this in the bag. Together, we sealed it. And then wherever it ends up being delivered to, they have to do the same thing, I'm assuming. So why would you be concerned about photographs if there is a chain of custody? I'm sure many times you have to go back, analyze things, go back and forth. Oh, well, I need to go look at this again. So what are you going to say? Oh, I can't do that because I didn't do it properly the first time? No, you maintain the chain of custody. So I don't know. I don't think they have really a very good argument. I'm starting to think maybe more of the concern is that they don't have a good match. Are they going to be able to show that a blown up picture that they took of, while looking down that microscope? Are they going to be able to show that to a jury and say, look, there's just no way that something matches this well. It's just never going to happen. So here's the footnote. September 8th, 2023, the defense did receive photographs of the bullet at the forensic lab where it was tested. So, of course, they're going to have chain of custody through that process. However, the defense still has not received photos of the bullets from the crime scene, of crime scene technicians pulling out the bullet from the ground or placing it into an evidence bag. So signatures are not enough for them. They want photographic or video evidence of that happening, as is standard practice. Okay, so they're saying that that's standard, especially in murder cases. Jerry Holman testified in his deposition that investigators estimated the time of death as occurring somewhere between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. All right. And this will be the last thing we go over here. And then we'll hang out in the chat and see what you guys have to say. Sleuth, do you know anything about the rumors of the shell casing being found much later? No. We're hearing now that they pulled it up. They have proof at least that they found it at the crime scene when they found the girls. Dominique says, don't they usually just show it on the ground? Not according to the memorandum. They're saying it's standard. So this is going to be where the bullet is mentioned in the probable cause affidavit. Oh, you don't? Boston, true crime and other stuff. I always thought it was because the three girls saw him. They use that maybe we just haven't seen it yet excuse a few times in that doc. Yeah, they always leave themselves an out. And I may be mistaken, but right before they quit, there was talk that they didn't receive all the discovery. So I feel like the defense was waiting for the very, very last moment to drop something on them. And I'm really curious to wonder what it is. Sorry. I was trying to shove these giant bites out of the salad down without you guys having to hear that crunching noise. Boston, Sleuth, if he attacked them in the creek corner, would know that, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they know if the wound was flushed, cleaned with creek water? I don't know about that because it wouldn't be flushed or cleared. It would just be coming out and then flow with the water. It's not like the water is going to enter into the wound, forcing it out. Plus, I don't think she was in the water that long. I think probably just enough for her blood and maybe some DNA to get kind of messed up. But I do believe the reason they didn't find a whole lot of blood from her is because she was attacked very near the water, and it simply just went downstream. Yeah, Farmer, that's what I was thinking. We really didn't have that confirmed. With that footnote, now we can at least confirm that the time of death was between 2:30 and 3. So that's a fact now, in my opinion. Or factual. Rain Dancer, I found it interesting that the time of death was mentioned very precisely. Yeah, for the first time. I think that's what Farmer was mentioning as well. Oh, that's interesting, Dominique. A crime scene course. What'd you learn? You learn how to take I know DNA is tough. You have to drop something on it first, like some kind of solvent before you collect it. Yep, Don, and that matches up with what the defense is quoting Holman as saying. Yep, return the diamonds. Good to see you. Dominique says, I'm not finding anything that says you are meant to photograph the bullet going into the bag. And what if you wanted to go back and take new photos? What's going to be your argument? How do you know you're taking the photos of the same bullet? Because you have the chain of custody. So I don't know. Is that always photographed? I don't think so. All right. On October 13th, 2022, investigators executed a search warrant of Richard Allen's residence at 1967 North Whiteman Drive, Delphi, Carroll County, Indiana. Among other items, officers located jackets, boots, knives, firearms, including a Sig Sauer model P226, 40 caliber pistol with serial number U625627. Between October 14th, 2022 and October 19th, 2022, the Indiana State Police Laboratory performed an analysis on Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. The laboratory performed a physical examination and classification of the firearm, function test, barrel and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition component characterization, microscopic comparison, and NIBIN. The laboratory determined the unspent round located within 2 feet of victim 2's body had been cycled through Richard M. Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. The laboratory remarked, sufficient agreement is related to the significant duplication of random striated impressed marks as evidenced by the correspondence of a pattern or combination of patterns of surface contours. The interpretation of identification is subject in nature and based on relevant scientific research and the reporting examiner's training and experience. Investigators then ran the firearm and found that the firearm was purchased by Richard Allen in 2001. Richard Allen voluntarily came to the Indiana State Police Post on October 26, 2022. He spoke with investigators and stated that he never allowed anyone to use or borrow the Sig Sauer model P226 firearm. When asked about the unspent bullet, he did not have an explanation of why the bullet was found between the bodies of victim 1 and victim 2. He again admitted that he was on the trail but denied knowing victim 1 or victim 2 and denied any involvement in their murders. So I wonder what Richard Allen was thinking when they first asked him about the unspent bullet. I wonder if he was like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way I left anything. All right, guys, if you haven't voted on the poll, now's the time. I'm making my way over there to close it out. And then I'm going to eat my salad.
ever shaved balls on camera?
Okay, so the question is the unspent bullet found at the crime scene is the last nail in the coffin or a chain of custody nightmare. 26% said undecided, 28% said chain of custody nightmare, and it could be. And mine was the last nail in the coffin, which was 46%. Sounds interesting, Dominique. Cindy says, does the defense expect there to be a live stream video of the bullet from the date it was found until now, like an eagle's nest? That is ridiculous. Yeah, what are they asking for? And I could be ignorant here. I mean, maybe I'm not understanding what chain of custody really means, so I'm not quite sure. But I'm just not quite clear on what they're asking for, what they were hoping for. I mean, it would be nice. I can understand the photos and all of that, but photos of it going in the bag and all that stuff. But yeah, some close-up photos, hopefully you got that. But if not, as long as the chain of custody is good, right? You would expect that it's the same bullet. Why wouldn't it be? Yeah, Chico says, I think Carter said something like it was all over quickly. He also said he knows exactly what happened out there. That's why I believe he was out to kill, not abduct or assault or whatever. Yeah, I do believe he was there to kill as well. Yeah, that's funny. Well, the defense called it standard, but I don't know, I don't know, they seem to be misleading at every corner of that memorandum. Cheeks, yeah, he was like, oh, fuck, what? What do you mean unspent bullet? Yeah, we found a bullet. You're fucked, buddy. Yeah, and during the memorandum, Dominique, they still said, oh, and they may have not shown it to us yet. You know, after everything, it was like, well, they may not have shown it to us. So they could still have all of this and not have provided it to the defense just yet. I want to give a shout out to Jerry for sponsoring today's live stream, and let's welcome Chico's Mummy to the Sleuth Crew. Welcome. And if you guys haven't, please hit the like, hit that thumbs up if you could on the way out. Replay crew, let me know what you think. Is this the final nail or just a chain of custody nightmare? Let me know what you think in the comment section. What's up, Kiwi? All right, guys, on that note, I am going to bounce. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'll come check on them later. And don't forget, later tonight, I'm going to be hanging with the Drunk Turkey Show. If you guys haven't checked them out, definitely go take a look, and I'll be there at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. Peace.